Let's bring in Jim Hanson, president of Security Studies and former U.S. Army Special Forces. Jim, Antony Blinken said that a reaction to attacks on U.S. service members would be swift and decisive, and now we have these airstrikes in Syria. So what do you think about this? Will this serve as the appropriate deterrent for Iran so that they don't escalate the situation even further?
Well, we're going to find out, Carly. I think the problem is Iran wants the U.S. to be involved with this because they think that will generate support for the cause of the Palestinians and the broader idea that they are a regional, hegemon. They are a power in the Gulf, and maybe the Gulf Arab states will back their play. I think it's going to backfire on them. I don't think any of those states, the Saudis and the rest, are going to be interested in backing attacks on the United States by Shia militias that are proxies of Iran. And in any case, Iran was the main sponsor of Hamas, who started this whole mess. So I'm not sure it was a great idea. I think the U.S. response was appropriate, and hopefully the Iranians will get the message.
Our Jennifer Griffin said the Pentagon is under no illusion that these strikes will stop these attacks. It seems like you agree, although you disagree, that this is a good move by Iran. But why last night? Why not immediately in the moments following the attacks on U.S. bases? Was that strategic, or is there something else at play, Jim?
There is a lot of diplomacy going on behind the scenes to try and decide who is going to back which play. And I think right now we're trying to make sure that the folks who normally might have some sympathy for the Palestinians, the Gulf Arab states I mentioned, will not decide that they're going to become a problem as we try to keep this limited to simply Israel defeating Hamas and removing them from power. That's the goal, is to keep this limited to that and not let Iran turn this into a regional conflict.
Yeah, well, while Iran is attacking U.S. forces in the Middle East, Iran's foreign minister was allowed on U.S. soil. He made a speech yesterday in New York City at the UN, and he threatened the United States, saying America will not be spared from the fire if the fighting in Gaza is not stopped. And John Kirby has spoken out about this, says the U.S. has no control over who gets to go to United Nations meetings, but there are visas involved here.
Yeah, I think at some level there are a lot of people who are currently in the United States on visas who are either threatening us, obviously, as the Iranian foreign minister did, but also a lot of people who are supporting the Hamas terrorists who are in the United States as our guests. And I think it's time for the State Department to take a look at all of the groups that are basically front groups for Hamas and pull the visas on any of their people and send them home. There's no reason for us to allow terrorists to use U.S. soil to, talk smack about the deaths and destruction that Hamas caused.
And Jim, sadly, you could start that search at any college or university in America these days, which is absolutely shocking. What do you make of the fact that we told Israel after the fact, after we did this attack?
I kind of doubt we told them after the fact. That may be the public statement, and that's probably designed to smooth some waters with other people in the area. But it's highly unlikely we made those strikes without direct coordination with the Israelis. They're our #1 ally in the region, and we're going to coordinate everything we do with them. And I hope the U.S. has given them the green light now to go ahead and finish the hostage negotiations, which are being done by Qatar, who actually helped Hamas do this, kind of a twisted and sickening thing there. I think the Qataris need to pay for that, and then we need to give a green light to the Israelis to roll through and take out all of Hamas in Gaza and make sure they never rule there again.
Yeah, well, on the Qatar front, Washington Post has a report saying the U.S. and Qatar have agreed to revisit Qatar's association with Hamas once this hostage crisis is over. Unclear if that means that the leaders would possibly be kicked out of the country. But what do you make of that reporting?
I think that's the least that can happen. Right now, the Qataris were a major funder and supporter and sponsor. And as you said, they've hosted the leaders of Hamas and still do in their country. They need to give those people up, allow them to face justice, and they need to make sure that all of their terror support, especially of Hamas and the others in the Gaza and the other areas around Israel, is shut down. It's just ridiculous for us to pretend that Qatar is an ally when they're doing those kind of things. The only reason they're a good negotiator to get those hostages back is because they are friends with the people who took them.
Jim Hanson, thank you so much for joining us this morning.